Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet. Prime Minister Modi is expected to land in Washington, D.C. for the highly anticipated meeting with US President Donald Trump. The meeting, which will be the first one between both the leaders since his inauguration, is expected to set the agenda for India-US relationship for the next 4 years. So what is it that makes the visit important for India? It obviously comes at the backdrop of Donald Trump's push to deport 20,000 illegal immigrants for India. While India has supported Trump's stand, in fact, the return of the deportees is on the agenda. Another important issue is the trade after Trump imposed tariffs on steels and aluminium imports. Donald Trump has also expressed his desire to sell defense products to India, which will be crucial for India's defense modernization push. Let's not forget that this also comes as Trump administration is cracking down on US aid and also on George Soros and his network. Before this visit, the Prime Minister has met with US Vice President J.D. Vance and discussed investments in nuclear energy and also artificial intelligence. So what can India expect from the Modi-Trump meeting, and what fresh synergy will be witnessed between the two leaders, and how important that will be for the build-up to the summit? We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Suresh Kumar Goel, former diplomat. Major General Sudhakarji, defense expert, also joins us on the show. Pathikrit Pine, geopolitical analyst, with us on the program. And last but not the least, Professor Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, with us on the program as well. Professor Nalapat, sir, I'll begin with you. So, simple Prozac question. Is it going to be picked up from where Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump left off in 2020, or do you think there's enough water that has flown under the bridge? And considering that Donald Trump has come back to this presidency with a vengeance, he's going to change this and change that, will India and US relationship continue to be so hunky-dory?
Look, Vineet, the vengeance is not against India. The vengeance is against China and extremist elements that are threatening Israel. The fact of the matter is that in the last 4 years, China has been immensely strengthened in terms of trade, in terms of access, and so many other ways. It has made itself immensely stronger. The BRI and other measures, although fortunately, the European state that was in the BRI, Italy, has opted out. But now more and more are going to opt out now that Trump has come. For a simple reason, he is completely clued in onto the China threat. And may I say, so is President, the choice as Vice President, J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance and PM Modi meeting in Paris is probably one of the three most significant meetings that the Prime Minister has had in France. One, of course, with Macron, the other, the AI summit. J.D. Vance will convey the Prime Minister's sentiments faithfully to President Trump, and therefore the mood will be set for the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump. I want to say, Vineet, $123 or so billion is the annual US-India trade, and it's one of the few countries with which we have a surplus. US has got a staggering deficit with China. Unfortunately, we also have a very large deficit with China, and both countries will be looking at reducing that, and one way of reducing that is to rely on each other's supply chains. Now, Trump is going to, tariffs, frankly, are not going to help the relationship, definitely not where India is concerned. You will notice that he has paused tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and the fact of the matter is that both are allies and China is an adversary. You can't treat allies and adversaries the same, as President Macron seems to be hinting, oh, we are going to be something, basically in competition with both the US and China. Look, the US is an ally of France, China is an adversary. You can't compare the two. India is an ally, and I'm glad President Macron went the extra mile and even saw the Prime Minister at the airport. But I'd like to say that the Vance meeting, I think, will set a very warm tone for the Trump-Modi meeting. And I think Indo-Pacific security will be front and center of the confidential bilateral discussions that take place between the US President and the Indian Prime Minister. He's being put up at Blair House. That's very, very significant, Vineet. Blair House is where state guests put up on state visits. Technically, this may not be a state visit, but the Americans are treating it with all the pomp of a state visit. And that just gives an indication of how far the red carpet is being rolled out for Prime Minister Modi. So if you ask me, I think it's going to be an extremely productive meeting in terms of outcomes. And don't forget, we cannot forget the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. That will be very, very damaging to the BRI. And that's an initiative by India, which France totally supports. And Biden was lukewarm towards it, IMEC. Frankly, Biden was lukewarm towards any very strong action against China. Trump is not lukewarm about anything. And where IMEC is concerned, it's a direct challenge to the BRI. And I'm very certain that President Trump, who understands geopolitics very well, even though he may make all very, very, layman statements, basically for his sake of his crowd. But he knows the basic geopolitics of the world. And the basic geopolitics of the world is the new adversary is China. It's no longer Russia. And already he has made it clear he is going to reach out to Putin and arrange a ceasefire in Ukraine, something Putin had been willing to do in 2022 April. Prime Minister Modi was very instrumental in that, in that agreement, for him agreeing. And what happened? Biden and Boris Johnson, the then UK Prime Minister, ensured that the Europeans kept out. And Europe has done itself immense damage. The Ukraine has done itself indescribable damage. I feel sorry for the Ukrainian people, what they've gone through. But this whole thing could have been done in 2022 itself. And certainly it's going to be done very soon as a consequence of Donald Trump being sworn in as the US president. So basically, the same way, I would like to just end by saying, Vineet, you remember Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan ensured he broke the back of the evil empire, which is the Soviet Union. Donald Trump is determined to basically do basically exactly what Reagan did, of course, and much more. And he intends to break the back of the PRC, which is the main adversary. He's going to work on that systematically. India is a partner in that, and it will, I hope, soon become a formal security partner in that. And Prime Minister Modi is an old friend. Trump is going to be very warm towards him, I can predict. And the meeting is going to be very warm and cordial, and expect a lot of outcomes, although many outcomes may not be revealed to the public at this time, because nobody wants a particular country, namely China, to eavesdrop on those outcomes. Thank you, Vinny.
Absolutely right, sir. Ambassador Goel, are you confident that India has more or less gotten what it wanted under the American noses in the last 4 years, and that perhaps is likely to continue under Trump and Prime Minister Modi as well? Sir, I can't hear you.
Can I start now, Vinny?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Vinny, what I do know is that the visit is very important because the discussions or the conversation between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi will indicate to us where we are going to be in the scheme of the USA for the next 4 years. 2 or 3 things. The earlier term of Trump, we could not predict the forecast what Trump wanted. He would change from day to day, from minute to minute, and every time there was a conversation, we thought that we could actually change his mind. This time, the way he has started with a vengeance, he may seem mercurial, he may seem unpredictable, but there is a definitive agenda behind whatever he is doing. And the definitive agenda behind whatever he is doing is what he has said before, to make America great again. And that great America may not be the same great America that we think of, where everybody, the Statue of Liberty beckons everybody to come and work there to liberate the world from the agenda of the Soviet Union, the tightening of the noose and technology, where everybody actually enjoys the fruit of freedom. The way President Trump is now doing, he's coming hard on the illegal immigration, fair enough. But we do not know, and he has not made it clear as to what his stand is going to be on the legal immigration, which is a big issue for us. The only good thing that we think about is that he has got Elon Musk as the head of Dodge or the advisor, who is going to look at the business side of it. And therefore, we can be reasonably sure that the Indian professional migrants to the USA or H-1B visa holders will still be able to really do their business. But anyway, that is just an aside. So the point really here is that the discussion is going to be important in terms of indicating to us where we stand. China factor. We thought that basically India was being seen by Trump as a hedge against China. True enough. But it is also very clear Elon Musk has already started the EV factory, the battery factory in Shanghai. For Elon Musk, China is an important place for starting his business, for investments. Is Elon Musk going to advise Trump to go hard on China? I do not know. China may be strategically a different, difficult country for the Indo-Pacific. But if in terms of the business, in terms of what the USA wants or what Trump wants as a business with China, if China delivers, and China, please mind you, I've lived in China for 4 years. I know China is, and Xi Jinping, they very cleverly know how to basically look submissive and bending around the will of the others and still get what they want. Please see how they have been able to benefit or profit from the WTO rules. Therefore, I'm not so certain whether China, as a factor in, as Professor Nalapat explained about China in Trump's thinking, whether it is going to work in favor of India or not. And therefore, I would say that given all the factors, whether it is tariff, whether it is migration, technology, investments, you name it. I think in all those scopes, or Indo-Pacific or Quad, I think these discussions are going to be very important because they will indicate to us where we are going to be over the next 4 years. Vineet.
All right, those are valuable points, sir. It's important to understand that there is a very important and a very deep angle that Donald Trump has come out with. Elon Musk is by his side. Pathikrit Pine, the Prime Minister, of course, had a very successful trip to France. A number of MOUs have been signed. The entire event went out very smoothly. Can we anticipate the same when the Prime Minister is going to meet Donald Trump?
Vinit, of course, there are many areas of convergence between India and United States, and of course, those convergence will be taken forward. The two leaders do share a very strong relationship, and so we do believe that some positive things will come out of it. For example, there are 3-4 key areas where America is interested. First and foremost, government this time has, I think, allowed 100% FDI in insurance, which is a very important thing, and I support it because the Indian insurance players have reached a level of saturation, so more investments are required, and Americans will be pretty happy with that. Secondly, the decision to restrict or have some modification in the civilian liability of the Nuclear Damage Act will be, which will be a very positive aspect of in ensuring that American companies start investing in the Indian nuclear market, energy market, because India has a plan for 100 gigawatt of energy by 2047. And so the small modular reactor is something where there will be a lot of interest by the Americans. I think some low-hanging fruits of some defense deals can happen, like the Stryker, armored personnel carrier. People may be a little upset that no, we should go entirely for Atmanirbhar Bharat. But let's understand one thing: the kind of help that Donald Trump is ensuring for you by dismantling the US aid, which has been creating ruckus within India, which has been creating ruckus in the whole of South Asia by interfering. I think compared to that, if you give a 1 or 2 deals here and there, that's not going to be a big problem. I think you might see some progress in the next 1 or 2 years in 3 major deals, 6 more PHI Poseidon for Indian Navy, a few more Chinook helicopters, and probably the Striker. PHI Poseidon is something, Indian Navy has been looking for, a few more. So these are the things that will happen. On the issue of tariff, I think this is a little overhyped. So there, when you get into the brass tacks, you realize that for 75% of the commodities that India imports from United States, the actual customs duty is less than 5%. For example, when you talk about coal, when you talk about diamond, LNG, or when you talk about crude oil, it's just 5%. Or in certain cases, it's only 10%. It's only some of the other areas where tariff is a little more. United States also is protectionist. There are many areas where tariff is very high. So he might talk about 25% tariff on steel and all that thing. I don't think it's going to happen to that extent. So I think there will be areas of convergence. In return, I think India will say 2 things. If you want defense deals, please develop the habit of delivering on time. Because some of the deals that were signed in last time when President Trump was in India, the American companies have not even delivered those now, including the 6 Apache helicopters for Indian Army, and for the MH-60 of Indian Navy, only 6 has been delivered. So, and GE F404 engine, I don't know whether by design or default they kept on delaying it. 2 years is a critical time. Whether it was a delay for the sake of completely sabotaging India's program, that's a big question mark. So I think India needs to tell the Americans, boss, don't get into that thing. Don't keep on delaying to the extent that you sabotage my program. If that happens, then there is a problem. So I think there will be areas, and I think in return, India will look for one thing: zero tolerance, zero interference from America on the internal affairs of India. In the last 4 years, let me make it very clear. In the last 4 years, if there was one country which was giving competition to China to undermine India, it was United States. Both have done equally. So to presume that we should now be brother in arms and fight against China, I don't buy that argument, because who knows, next 4 years down the line there would be somebody else coming who will do exactly the same thing. So we need to have equidistance, and yes, we should enhance our trade with United States, but I am very sure Prime Minister Modi will not open up the sectors like fishery, poultry, dairy, and other sectors where crores of Indian farmers are involved, and Trump knows as well. Trump has been making noises about tariff, but that is for him a tool of forcing countries to come into the negotiating table, nothing more. Because he knows also that the competence, proficiency of the American companies depends upon their manufacturing, either in China or some other countries, including India. If America has to be competitive as a manufacturing base, it has to devalue its currency, because it has the premise, the edifice of American value of dollar is based on being an importing economy. So that has to be understood. I think it's going to be a great visit, but you may not see result right away. As Professor Nalapat rightly mentioned, many of the things that will be discussed will not be revealed because they are not supposed to be discussed. But at the same time, India must continue working on tech sovereignty. If President Trump wants to make America great again, we also want to make India great again. So there will be a win-some situation for both sides. You get deals, make some in United States, sell it to us, and also make some in India. So there will be 50% perhaps import and 50% FDI, where both countries benefit. It cannot be only Americans benefiting. So yes, it's going to be, let's be realistic at our expectations when it comes to illegal immigrants. If we are against illegal immigration happening in this country from Bangladesh, then America equally
okay, all right.
right.
Let me. We have a paucity of time. Let me also bring in General Sudhakarji into this conversation. General Sudhakarji, obviously, we rely on France when it comes to our defense procurement. In fact, after Russia, it's probably France that we rely on the most. Donald Trump, of course, is an expert in the art of the deal, so to speak. Is he going to make this relationship a lot more transactional in his second innings, according to you?
Vinit, time is less. Let me respond to your question in an objective manner. My assessment is that it is unlikely to be a transactional deal. You will see a different Trump. and there will be very serious negotiations in favor of India. There will be significant milestones achieved. For all you know, by the time this visit finishes, certain things which are hanging fire for a long time, they fructify. You will start seeing them in reality happening on ground. Why am I saying this is, in 2010 there was a book written by Dr. Robert Kaplan, Monsoon, The Future of American Power. This book has done a great deal of research, and it is in fact a classified research document converted into a book, in which the Indian Ocean region has been termed as the future commercial basket of 21st century. And in that Indian Ocean, he has highlighted that it is the South Asia, to include India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, such like countries, and of course China, and in Africa it is Tanzania. These are the countries, Indonesia towards the Southeast Asia, as also Malaysia to a larger extent. Few of the countries have been beautifully examined, and he's proven it empirically as also statistically to say that the 21st century will witness a gravitation of multiple forces to make use of 500 or more million of people of India who have the capacity to spend $12 a day. This incidentally is a parameter or a denominator given out by the World Bank, that it is the $12 per day, 500 million people of India and 876 million people of China as on 2025, which will actually make a lot of difference. Also commensurate to this statistics and data are equal number of people in the South Asian subcontinent who will contribute to the global economic power. This is one part. Second part, he is mindful of the fact that China is a bipartisan common enemy decided by all the multiple stakeholders within
All right,
USA.
sir. All right, sir. So we have a paucity of time. Appreciate your thoughts, Professor Nalabat. We appreciate your thoughts, but we have to end it here.